Despite the scary headlines of reciprocal tariffs that could be heading out to many, quote, countries next week, Nbis Group, well, they were up about 12% at the time of recording this video. At the high of the day today, we're up almost 15%, really following news that happened yesterday. Now, I'm making this video because I want to point out, I think a lot of big money investors are now starting to look at this company, look at this stock and say, oh, wait, maybe this is really an overlooked AI name, which you don't get much of that these days, where you can have a stock just flying completely under the radar. And, well, I think odds are good that it's probably not going to fly under the radar for all too long. And the news yesterday was that this stock was mentioned on CNBC. Okay. Alger and Kerr, she is the woman that mentioned Nebius on CNBC yesterday. The first time it's been talked about on CNBC. She actually told people to buy Nvidia in 2022. And now she is telling you to buy Nebius in 2025. Take a listen to what she said about Nebius last night.
You came with a stock pick for us today that is a data center play, what you call under the radar. Nebius? Is that it?
Yes.
Tell me more.
Nebius, a really interesting under the radar. I call it under the radar because it actually has almost no coverage on the street. It was, it used to be the management of the former Yandex, which was the Google of Russia. You know, they've basically corralled them. They've started a new company called Nebius, and Nebius is an AI data center play. In November of last year, the NASDAQ called them and said, we're basically listing you in 3 days. So they actually never got the chance to do an IPO roadshow, and are now kind of meeting with investors. What I love about this is that it's effectively a public CoreWeave. There is no other way to play kind of an enterprise type data center. They have a global footprint, expanding rapidly in the US with some of the best engineers in the world.
Top of your head, you know what the market cap is?
About
I don't mean
$8
to put you on
billion.
the spot. $8 billion. All right. Well, good stuff. Good to catch up with you as always. Ankur, thank you.
Now, again, as she said, Nebius is really just a company flying under the radar, and they don't have any analyst coverage. Now, some people are comparing this call by Alger and Kerr, this woman here that you just seen in the video, as kind of a similar call she made on Nvidia in 2022. Take a listen to what she said September 27th, 2022 about Nvidia.
If you like Nvidia, okay, this fits right into the conversation. So are you making a call at the same time that, okay, this stock has gotten destroyed, come down a lot, and we think bond yields are topping out, and that's why now can be a decent opportunity to get into that name because we think most of the damage is already over?
Yeah, so if you look at Nvidia, it's a fallen angel. It's down 65%. It produces cash flow. And if you can just look through this divot in earnings, yes, the earnings have come down significantly, over 50%. There is cyclical exposure to the consumer, even to the data center, which is slowing. However, if you can look through 24, this is a business that will grow 30% for the next 5 years, in part because of the end markets that they're levered to. I mean, if there's a new set of FANG that is going to come out of this, I think Nvidia is going to be anointed as one of them.
That's like one of the more difficult things, I guess, for the average investor who's watching is to think 5 years and not 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But we live in a 5-minute market, right? It's so volatile. You're so afraid to buy some of these stocks that have gotten cut in half, in some cases 2/3, because you're afraid the market's going to go down more and you're going to have a better opportunity to get in. You're saying if you're a long-term investor, Nvidia is a buy here now.
I do think it's a buy here now. If anything, it will be a relative outperformer. Not saying that it won't.
So is Nebius going to be a similar call to what she made about Nvidia in 2022? I do not know. I cannot sit here and make that call, but I can tell you that things look pretty good for Nebius. First and foremost, the top two holders of Nebius are one, the CEO, which owns 13% of the company, and a longtime employee that owns about 4.5% of the company. I mean, 17.5% ownership from insiders is almost unheard of with a multi-billion-dollar corporation. You almost never see that. Now, like Elon Musk, he owns, around 13% of Tesla or so. I believe indirectly owns about 20% of Tesla if you include the stock options, right? It's rare occurrences, between this. And when executives have significant skin in the game alongside shareholders, that is typically a pretty good sign for how management's gonna, manage the business. Now, what I will tell you after today's bump up in Nebius, there's probably a lot of activity from hedge funds, institutions, and overall large money. If we take a look at the options market, I love looking at options because it gives you an indication of kind of forward positioning, forward sentiment on the stock. Yesterday, you had 9 different hedge fund and institutional options trades, okay, totaling $2.96 million with a positive order value of 100%. So 9 bullish trades effectively worth $3 million. Today, that number is more than 5xing, or almost 5xing, to 38 different trades, totaling $7.33 million, more than doubling yesterday's dollar amount, with a positive order value of 97%. So with all of this activity today, hedge funds and institutions are diving into options trades, bullish options trades, in Nebius, which is something you really don't see all too often. Now, if we look further out as well, like the May 16th, 2025 expiration, you're looking at volume today, 92.3% calls, 7.7% puts. Like a 9-to-1 ratio. 9 calls for every 1 put being bought. That's crazy. Same is true for the August 15th, 2025 expiration. 97.73% calls, 2.27% puts. That is wild. Out of 100 different trades, you're going to have almost 98 of them being calls and about 2% of them being puts, or 2 of them being puts. That is ridiculous. For January 16th, 2026, so a full almost year out, you're looking at open interest of 78% calls, 22% puts. That's pretty good. And for January 15th, 2027, you're seeing open interest of 87.5% calls, 12.5% puts. But look at the volume today. 96.12% calls and volume on the put side of 3.88%. I mean, these are some of the best numbers you're ever going to see on any stock. Now, I think a lot of that just has to do with people waking up and realizing, oh, wait, there's this under the radar AI company that we knew nothing about. And I think there's a lot of that taking place today, which is kind of some of the first initial positioning. As you get more analysts that start to look at this company, as you get more firms that start to initiate coverage and price targets, I think that added exposure and really awakening Wall Street to this company is going to likely drive the stock price higher in the short and medium term. Now, you can also see about 342,000 shares today are being covered on. So the first day since I've started tracking Nebius short activity that you're actually seeing a significant amount of shares being returned. You still have 8 million shares sold short though. So if you get a 10% move today off of 350,000 shares being returned, what do you think happens when 2 million shares are returned? Or 1 million shares or 500,000, you're probably going to continue to see some upside pressure on shares of Nebius. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing is guaranteed. Nebius has earnings coming next week, and we'll see what they have to say. But that could be a very, very big event to keep on your calendar. Now, Robinhood does say the expected earnings for Nebius is February 19th. 19th. So technically not going to be next week, but the following week after that. Now, one other thing that I will point out is some very large accounts on X are now starting to talk about Nebius, like the Short Bear, which has 134,000 followers on X, says Nebius investment thesis. He says, I thought I would share one of my recent buys, which was made during the recent DeepSeek panic. An AI infrastructure platform with multiple hidden assets and a fortress balance sheet. I thought I would share part of my research. So, you know, more people talking about the name generally is going to lead the name higher. You know, again, as long as it's good things being talked about, which so far so good. And honestly, I struggle with this one a little bit because I struggle to find anything wrong with the company. Like, they have no debt. The insiders are, you know, the biggest shareholders in the company. They own 17.5% of the company. Effectively, like, they have the control of the company. They are skin in the game alongside investors. They're expected to grow revenue massively this year. Like, in the off chance that they miss on some of those targets is like the only negative thing that I can come to. And that's kind of a negative reality for any company on Wall Street. There's nothing that's like blaringly, you know, negative or could be a larger risk factor. And, you know, while that's a good thing, I'm like, what am I missing? Like, if there's something I'm missing, let me know down below in the comment section. But I mean, no coverage on Wall Street, essentially none. There's one price target for $51, but essentially no coverage. I say that's a positive. People start to talk about it more, start to realize what this company is doing. You know, that leads to upside in the stock. Executives that have major skin in the game alongside investors. Nvidia did invest in the company. I'd say that's also positive. We don't know exactly how much Nvidia invested yet, but we'll see. AI name, like, I struggle to find the bear thesis here. Let me know if I'm missing something down below in the comment section. Ladies and gentlemen, I do have a year-end price target of around $100 per share, but, you know, I think $80 per share could also be pretty reasonable. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Do not trade this unless you are willing to lose a lot of money. This is going to be a volatile name. It's going to go up and down. And, you know, you got to be prepared for the volatility because trust me, it will come. You guys have a great weekend and I will see you in the next one.